Welcome back to Currently Right Now, Wife, Mom, Me. I'm your host, Ariane Mayweather, and this is part 2 of Happy Wife, Happy Life, or Happy Wife, Shitty Life. So let's go back a little bit to the prior episode, and let's think about all the things that I said and tie it into the Happy Wife, Happy Life. Right now, more than ever, we're in a time where divorce is amped up. We're going to go over some stats of divorce, who gets divorced more, meaning who files for divorce first. Looking at marriage now, do people want to get married? Is it even realistic? What are the hopes and dreams? What does that mean for society? And how it all ties into the happy wife, happy life thing. But when we look at the happiness, let's look at happy. What is the definition of happy? So Webster's dictionary, Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines happiness as a state of well-being and contentment. A pleasurable or satisfying experience. I wish you every happiness in life was an example. Okay, let's look at the definition of happy wife, happy life meaning. The saying, happy wife, happy life, generally means a husband's overall happiness and well-being are often linked to his wife's happiness. When a wife is content and fulfilled, it can create a more positive and joyful home environment, which in turn benefits the husband. Because that's what we care about, right? Some interpret it as suggestion that a husband's happiness is dependent on his wife's emotional state. While others view it as a reminder that a happy and supportive home life can contribute to the husband's happiness. Here's a more detailed breakdown. Shared happiness. The phrase implies that the happy wife can foster a more positive, supportive environment within the home, which can lead to a happier life for the husband as well. Interconnected emotions. It suggests that the emotional well-being of the wife and husband can be interconnected, meaning that the wife's happiness can have a positive impact on her husband's happiness. Emphasis on wife's happiness. Okay, not a one-way street. While the saying highlights the wife's role in contributing to marital happiness, it's important to remember that happiness in a marriage is a two-way street, requiring both partners to contribute to a fulfilling and joyful relationship. Well, Google didn't tell the modern women that, because they are running around here being abusive to this term and acting like it is all about them. I think we have somehow met those women and the happy wife, happy life thing, and the men that subscribe to that and what their life tends to look like. They're miserable and they don't really talk much, and the household's miserable. Anywho, the saying can be sometimes interpreted as placing undue pressure on the husband to make his wife happy, potentially overlooking the importance of individual happiness and well-being. Well, yeah, that has happened. We see it currently happening because you have a lot of people who are just plain old selfish and oftentimes get married for the wrong reasons. So again, let's take it back to just happy and being happy and what that means. Happiness is fleeting. I guess when you look at the word joy, let's take a look at the word joy. The definition of joy from the Webster's dictionary, a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. However, when we scoot down, and here is the difference between joy and happiness. While often used interchangeably, joy and happiness differ in their nature and source. Happiness is generally a fleeting, emotion-driven state that's often linked to external events or achievements, while joy is a deeper, more lasting state of contentment that's more about a sense of well-being and satisfaction with life. So when we talk about divorce and we talk about the reasoning for divorce and why it happens, oftentimes, unless you are getting your butt whooped, and unless you are being cheated on, 90 going west. Oftentimes, marriages ended because why? Well, I think we know them. We've heard of them. We've read things. The woman is saying, I'm just not happy. And maybe not utilizing your words properly. Maybe there's an underlying reason, but the overall consensus is, I'm just not happy. So let's look at the stats of the I'm just not happy and I want to file for divorce. Now, women are more likely to file for divorce than men. Around 69% of divorces are initiated by women. Several factors contribute to this, including societal expectations around domestic duties, women's evolving financial independence, and increased focus on self-advocacy and personal well-being. Okay. Here's a more detailed look at the reasons. Societal expectations and domestic duties. Women often bear the primary burden of domestic responsibilities, even when working full-time, leading to feelings of being overburdened and undervalued. Let's pause and let's kind of dive into that a little bit. That is true. I was in a prior life, I was married and I worked full-time. And I handled majority of everything, not taking away from what the girl's father did. He was pretty hands-on when we were together. Now, I know when you carry the burden of stuff, it can be overwhelming because there are a lot of dads who aren't hands-on. It just depends on the dad. It depends on the husband. It depends on what you all discuss. But it can be because you have a lot of wives who, depending on what time they get off work versus what time their husband gets off work and what happens with the kids and how all those things play into it. But for the majority, the wife is cooking. She is picking kids up or kids are already home and she's got to get them ready for school. We're doing homework if they haven't already attempted to do so. And she's doing the majority of the tasks, the home duties, the household duties, the getting the kids ready for bed the next day, etc., depending on when the husband comes home. Now, let's date this back. I'm born in the 80s, 81 to be exact. There's a phrase or a common theme called a latchkey kid. And often latchkey kids were from the 90s and prior to that. And so for you Gen Zs out there who are listening, let's take a look at what a latchkey kid is. Okay, here's the definition of a latchkey kid. A latchkey kid is a child who is regularly left unsupervised at home after school, often having a key to their own home to unlock the door. The term gained prominence during the 1970s and 80s when more mothers entered the workforce and after-school care options were less common. They were unsupervised, they had a key to their home, and they had independence. The term highlights a level of self-reliance that children in situation may develop. And again, this happened more often than not. My mother worked, my father worked. So growing up, my mom got up for work at about 5 a.m. and she worked 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. She usually got home about 6:30. My dad's work schedule was he worked overtime. So he worked a midnight shift. So he would be home in the morning and he would get me up for school. And I remember this like it was yesterday. He would get me up for school and I would get dressed. He would make me some oatmeal or I would have a bowl of cereal and I would get dressed. That key was around my neck. It was literally on my dresser. After you brush your teeth, you put that key around your neck. And he would walk me to the bus stop or I'd walk myself. If I was running late, he would drive me to the bus stop. But for the most part, I will walk myself to the bus stop, which was around the corner, and then get out of school. My dad left for work at 2 p.m. When I got out of school, he was not home. Now, my brothers are quite older than me. The brother above me is 8 years older. So if I am 7, the brother above me is 15. He ain't home The majority of time when I would get out of school, nobody was home. I would let myself in. I knew the rules. If you go outside, you stay right in front of the house. You don't go nowhere else. You stay right in front of the house. You don't go past the second key. Um, if you're hungry, you don't touch the stove. You may use the microwave, and lock the door and do not let anybody in the house. I don't care who it is. Anybody supposed to be in the house, they have a key. So those latchkey kids now. So, you have a parent who definitely is taking on more of the parental duties than she would like, and the household duties that she would like. Okay, let's get back to the other reasoning. So then we have financial independence. Oh, there's that word again. Women are increasingly financially independent, making them less reliant on their spouses for financial stability and more likely to seek divorce when dissatisfied in their marriage. That right there. So we know these women, and now you have some households that my mom made more than my dad, but she never flaunted it. She never threw it in his face because she was too busy in his pocket. Sorry, Mom, it's the truth. But it doesn't matter. But they both worked equally hard. And she never took that from my father. And I remember there was a time when my dad lost his job and that was common, losing your job. Because back then, in the 80s and 90s, you could get a job. You could walk outside and somebody would hand you a job. It's quite different from the way things are now. But anywho, he lost his job. And my mom told him, you know what, Felix, I make enough money. Don't stress. Don't worry about it. I'll hold us until, you find something. I mean, my dad literally went out the next day and got another job. That's how easy it was to find a job. But again, my mother never put him down or made him feel less than, or never threw in his face, well, I make more money than you. My father paid the mortgage. He did what he was supposed to do. Everybody had their role. So you have these new women now, these millennials and more. And you know what? Not even so much millennials. It's the Gen Xers too. And they make this money now and they have an increase. So they're like, you know what? I've been unhappy with you for whatever reason, and I want a divorce. I make more money than you. I don't need you. I can get my own place, or you can move out. I can carry it on my own. You think you can. And it is interesting when that happens, because it's more so of the realistically when you dig and you find more, because you have these women and they'll tell their girlfriends, oh, I'm leaving this man. And they'll say, well, why? And they're like, they give their list of reasons why. All of them have nothing to do with he's whooping my ass and he's cheating on me. None of those reasons. And then well, like, you got a good man, or he's a good father, he's that. Yeah, girl, but you know what, he don't take me out. And it's like, okay, have you voiced that with him? He should know, because what, everybody is a mind reader now, like, and they will leave because they feel like I earn more money. But what they don't realize that they're doing is, in the I earn more money, you're still removing an income from your household. And you think you got it until you don't. And then them kids start acting up because they used to seeing their daddy every day. And now you have sent things into just a black hole vacuum. And it is just, it's ugly. So let's look at the other one. Financial independence. Okay, increased self-advocacy. Women are becoming more aware of their rights and are likely to prioritize own well-being, leading them to seek divorce when marriage is not fulfilling. If that is not selfish as hell, and I think what tends to happen and this is the whole happy wife, happy life thing. We think, and I mean, everyone for the most part, and this is just not a woman thing, but just general people think that your spouse is supposed to make you happy. They're not. Happiness and joy is an inside job. That is your responsibility. Now, what your spouse is not supposed to do, man or woman, they're not supposed to bring you down. They're not supposed to make you feel bad. They're not supposed to bring, um, heartache to you. They're not supposed to hurt you. They're not supposed to ignore you. They are not supposed to, um, ignore you or mistreat you. That's not part of the deal. But me stating that, you know what, I can do XYZ on my own. I don't need you, or you don't make me happy. No way. Me doing other things outside of this marriage makes me happy. And when people don't feel fulfilled, they like to blame the other person. And that's not really fair. So you have a woman and she says, because it is not typical when men do that. If a man's unhappy, you'll know it, but he's not about to leave you. And I'm not, I mean, this is not always 100% true, but for the most part, if a man is unhappy, it's usually something happening, but he ain't gonna leave you because he needs to go feel fulfilled, unless he's going through a midlife crisis. And even in that, the most he's gonna do is go buy a car he shouldn't have, cheat or lose a bunch of weight, or just kind of check out the building. And the cheating part is not okay. And in that, he might turn his life upside down. And we'll talk about that another time. But the increased self-advocacy, and when marriage is not fulfilling, being fulfilled and finding things that fulfill you. When you meet your future husband, you should already have had that intact. And we are humans. We should be ever learning, ever growing. So upon having kids, if that is what you and your spouse choose to do, upon having kids and going through life in day to day, other than you being a mom, being a wife, you should have your own outlet. You should do things that make you happy. And if you go to the gym, okay, that is really to just stay in shape and keep, be healthy. But outside of that, what are you doing? Do you read? Are you part of a book club? Do you have girlfriends that you at least have dinner with once a week? You have to do things that fulfill you. If you're looking to your spouse to fulfill you, you're going to crash and burn. And that's not their job. There are so many things that one can do, because at some point, even if you and your spouse are conjoined at the hip, you should have something outside of that that makes you happy. I don't care if you watch TV and that brings you joy, but you should have something. Everybody needs a break. And sometimes, going to work isn't necessarily the break, but everybody needs a good 2 hours to themselves to decompress and find time and to spend time with other people who are like-minded. I'm not talking about having male friends. That's an absolute no-no, or female friends. That's a no-no. But I'm saying as an adult, when you have kids, especially small kids, or you have kids who are in activities and stuff, that will run your life. And at the end of the night, when you come and you sit down and all that stuff is done, and you looked at your day and you go, okay, I did the wife thing, I did the mom thing, I did the domestic thing, and I have nothing to account for myself. What are you fulfilling that with? You should have something. I don't care, anything, as long as it's safe, healthy, you're not putting your marriage and your family in jeopardy. It should be something. And I think if more people understood that, as opposed to blaming their husband or wife for not feeling fulfilled, you need to go to therapy. So emotional needs and support. Women may feel less supported emotionally in marriage and may seek divorce when their emotional needs are not being met. Again, this is silly, because my emotional needs aren't met. And 9 times out of 10, I can guarantee you that individual hasn't said anything to that person other than, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. What do we tell our kids all the time, especially when you're having 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and they can talk, but they cry, and you're like, use your words. Okay, mom, use your words. Talk. Can't nobody read your mind. Use your words. So if you feel like your husband isn't meeting your emotional needs and they don't talk to you, express that. Maybe it's time to go to therapy. And I think the looming theme around therapy is people just don't want to face the truth. But why wouldn't you? It's a doctor. When we have a cold, when we have the flu, or when we're sick, or when you go for your yearly checkup and they find something wrong, now you're looking at the doctor as a savior as opposed to God. Go to therapy. Figure it out. Start reconnecting. Be intentional about your relationship. When you got married, when you were seeking each other and you got married, it was important. So why does it take 15 years to come undone? It should be active. It should be active. Like your relationship, your marriage should be an active daily job. Even if you just come together for 10 minutes out the craziness of the busy day and just talk. I think the best thing to do is you could do a monthly check-in. And in that monthly check-in, you just go over a list. Is there anything that you need from me that I'm not doing? And the same is, asked of you. Is there anything we're not doing that we should be doing? How have you been feeling about me lately? And all those things. Now, am I a relationship guru? Absolutely not. No. But I can tell you my first marriage was horrific and due to outside things. And understanding now after having therapy and doing the work, I mean, this is my second time in therapy, and understanding tools and getting the best tools that you need. And listen, if you spend most of your time on Instagram or social media, how are you using it? Because if it's using you and you're just mindlessly scrolling, that's not the best thing to do. What are the things that are in your algorithm? Because on my algorithm, kid you not right now, it's babies, it's marriage advice, it's therapy, and it's a lot of scriptures and God. And so on these marriage pages, especially ones that are spiritually led, it tells you like, here's some few relationship check-in, conversation starters. And I will say to my husband now once a month, hey, how are you feeling about me? Is there anything I'm doing, etc.? Like, did I do something to you and you didn't make me aware? Like, what can I do? Now, if you've done all those things and that person just isn't sharing or talking, that's a different story. But to say I'm not emotionally met, he doesn't do this, and you have been trying to, I think we often feel like this man should come in on a white horse, and I'm just using that as a talking point, and save the day every single day. And people get tired of suggesting. The problem isn't that. You got to know who you're married to. And it would be nice if people would initiate stuff. And whether if out of 7 days a week or the month, if they initiate once and you're initiating the other 3 times, like, let's have a date night, let's do this, and you get tired of it, then maybe it's time to implement a scheduled date night. Like every Thursday night, we go out on a date, we get a babysitter, we hang out, because obviously Saturday, Sunday, we have sports or whatever the case is. It's okay if it's scheduled. Now, if you want some spontaneous shit and that's your jam, and you've spoken into it and said it several times to your husband and said, I like spontaneous stuff, like, and he's not picking up what you're putting down, that's not a reason to leave. Like, you're gonna throw years and years away because this person's not spontaneous. Now, if y'all ain't got no kids, I'm a true believer of, if you're married, you need to stay married. Now, again, if it's not toxic. But if you don't have any kids and everybody's grown and you're just not happy and that person's not happy and you guys are doing more clashing than getting along, separate, get the fuck out of there. And I say that because you're not hurting anyone. When kids are involved, especially, and you came into this marriage and y'all had kids, you need to be fighting hardcore for your marriage, because what you're doing is you're now traumatizing a bunch of people who didn't ask to be here. And we do it all day long. We traumatize the fuck out of our kids because our grown asses can't get our shit together. And that's fucked up. So I say that with much love and intent because I know, because realistically, I shouldn't have been in the situation I was in, but I take full accountability for my prior marriage because a lot of things happened that didn't have to happen. And I endured a lot of stuff that I didn't have to. I hurt my own heart. I broke my own heart. And in turn, I broke my children's heart because of what I chose to endure that I didn't have to. I shouldn't even been there. But you know what? That's another story for another time. Anywho, so back to the emotional needs not met and not being supportive. You have to learn to have real conversations. And sometimes telling your husband or telling your wife, hey, this is what you're doing and I don't like it and it's bothering me. And having a real conversation can be hard and it can be scary, especially if you're dealing with somebody who's sensitive. But you know what? Going to the doctor sucks. And it's better to get that hard conversation out the way so you can begin repairing and working on what went south. We are human beings and we all fall short of the glory of God and we're not perfect. And we get caught up in day-to-day life, especially if they're kids. We get caught up with our kids. We get caught up with work and life is just passing you by. And if you are not intentional about the most important relationship, and that is with your spouse, it can go to shit real quick. And that is when the people start looking outside of things to fulfill them and make them happy. And it's not a positive one either. The moment you start bringing outsiders in because you don't feel good about life and you haven't sought therapy. All right, support systems. Women often have stronger support systems of friends and family who can help them navigate challenges of divorce. I bet they fucking can. Let me tell you, the worst thing you can do in the world is start telling your personal business. And this is more so to the women because men kind of really don't do this. They might bitch and complain. And depending on if you're a mama's boy and you have a mama that is ride or die for her kids, but, and we all need to check that. But if you have a wife and she has siblings, or she is telling her business to family, you know what happens. It happens often. We see it all the time. You start telling your business, and it ain't positive business, to your family, and all of a sudden, everybody who shouldn't be in that marriage is in that marriage. Now, depending on your support system, and depending on how those people feel about God and how those people feel about you and your husband. If they ain't never liked him, this is just a key to get that MFer out of there. If they love you guys and they love God and they understand the importance of marriage and they know there are children involved, those people should be coming together, rallying around you to build and help fix that marriage and should not be walking you hand in hand into divorce. Now, if you got miserable people in the group and misery loves company, and you start telling them your business, they're going to ensure you file for divorce. It's not okay. And essentially, ladies, you really should, either you have that one friend that don't know none of your family, doesn't know your husband, and you vent to them, and that's y'all's thing. We vent to one another, and I just got to get this off my chest. And they're not passing judgment. That's fine. But go get a therapist. Go get a therapist. Keep your family and friends out of it, because now if your husband is doing some stuff he shouldn't be doing and you don't know if you're going to stay or leave, especially don't tell your family, because they're going to assist you in the leaving, because nobody wants to see their family member hurt. No one does. Nope, no one does. So let's talk about the emotional support, all that other stuff with family members. What I find interesting is the individuals who marry someone and they get married, and meanwhile, this person has been the same way since day one. It's same place, same time, 365 every day of the year. This individual behaves the same way. And then all of a sudden, year 15, you are shocked as hell because so-and-so is behaving the way they've always been behaving. And then you're mad at them. And it is mind-boggling to me, because when you first got with him and y'all first started dating and then y'all got married, and it was annoying to you, like you didn't like that behavior. It was annoying, but you followed through with the marriage. Now all of a sudden, year 15, the things that they're doing are sending you to the moon, and you cannot believe it. But you married them. That shit is wild to me. And it doesn't make sense. And it often makes me think that people are slow. Like, what, you're on a spectrum of autism. This man has been doing the same thing since he met you. And it bothered you slightly, but you wanted to get married oh so bad, to check off of a list, because everybody is not getting married for purposeful reasons. A lot of people aren't getting married because of duty and honor. A lot of people are getting married because they want to post a picture on Instagram and they want to tell people, look, I got married, when they're missing the whole purpose of marriage and its duty. If you are not a dutiful person, if you are not getting married because you believe in God and honor and you love this person above all else, don't get married, because you're going to do yourself a disservice, you're going to do him a disservice, and you're going to do your family and your future children a disservice if the marriage isn't meant to be a commitment and it is truly through better or for worse. And a lot of people are good when it's for better, but you see real quick when the shit goes to worse, how quickly people start packing their bags and start making extra moves on how I'm going to get out of here. And again, I am not talking about physical abuse, mental, emotional abuse, and I'm not talking about infidelity. I'm talking about the stupidest of things, where this person been yawning one way and all of a sudden in year 15, you cannot stand the way they yawn. Why in the F did you marry him? Why? Like, are you slow? Like, why did you do that to you? Why did you do that to him? He been getting on your nerves. He was getting on your nerves day one, but the sex was good? Like, come on now. I think oftentimes as women, and you know what, people in general, but especially sometimes women, and I'm going to say this because as a woman, I've done this, and this ain't everybody, but majority of time. We do things and we tolerate things we shouldn't necessarily tolerate, especially stuff that gets on our nerves. And then halfway through, the moment you're upset about something, or the moment you no longer want to be there, you blame that as the reason. Take some accountability. Take some accountability. You did this to you. You're now in this situation. You don't like the way that this person possibly doesn't make you feel important, or when you go to them, they're not spontaneous enough. That person ain't been spontaneous. When you met him, he wasn't spontaneous. If y'all been dating 2 to 3 years and he wasn't spontaneous then, what makes you think at year 15 he's all of a sudden going to be spontaneous? And you've been telling him, and now you're like, I'm leaving you because you're not spontaneous. Why in the F did you marry him? He wasn't spontaneous when you got with him. Now all of a sudden you want this new dog to learn tricks? Get out of here. Like, and then you complain, and then you find little things to build on top of your case to complain, when the real problem is you. Take accountability. If we all took accountability and understood we're the number one reason where we are is because of ourselves, we would probably be better at life. I am so accountable with who I am that even when things go wrong or things are indifferent, I blame myself. Even when it's an outsider's fault, because 9 times out of 10, I kind of saw this coming and I could have probably prevented it. And I use that same ideal in every day of life. Everything that happens to me, good, bad, or indifferent, it is my fault. It is because of me. So the good things that happen to me, it is because of me. The bad things that happen to me, it is because of me. Because 9 times out of 10, you can see stuff coming. Things just don't all of a sudden blow up. It's been a buildup of things and how you handle it. So let's learn to take some accountability. Let's be mindful about who we are dating. Who are you dating? What did you tell this person who you are and how you move? What did you learn from them during the dating period? And let's keep it all the way 100. It don't take long to figure out if men, and this is to you, if you want to marry somebody or not. Men know within the first year. You guys know within the first 6 months if you're going to marry the girl or not. And if you're not going to marry the girl, leave her alone and free her so somebody else could come through and marry her. Because if she's doing something you don't like, somebody else will find that attractive. Don't drag her on. And it's easy to linger and keep things going because nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings. But what you will do is find yourself in a 5-year whole relationship, and this girl's been waiting on a ring. Meanwhile, you're not trying to propose. And ladies, I'm gonna throw this back to you. I did this, was in a situation for 10 years, and that person did not want to marry me, and we ended up getting married. And all those of you who know that story, that's all she wrote. All that's my fault. All that is my fault, because you know what? That person told me they didn't want to marry me. They told me year 2 they didn't want to get married. It wasn't specifically to me. They said they didn't want to get married. And it wasn't until towards the end when I was like, I'm done. And then they were like, oh no, I'll marry you. But I had no business being in that. That's all my fault. Everything that individual did to me was because of me. That's my fault. I take full accountability into that. And so I say all that to say, fast forward after a divorce and going through, I didn't leave because I wasn't happy. I left because of outside things. And then finding my husband now, I was very intentional. So I'm not saying all these things because I think I'm a know-it-all. I'm telling you all these things because I did it firsthand. I went through this firsthand. And accountability and taking full-on responsibility to where you stand in something, you have to be very mature and very honest with yourself. I did all that. I did the work. I had trauma. And shout out to my sister-in-law, Danielle. And I say this to you because, and she knows, and we've had this conversation after my first divorce. And I dated somebody for a year, and that, oftentimes when you're in abuse, you think anything that is better than that is better when it really isn't. It's just, you're traumatized. You need to go get help. And I needed help. And I didn't recognize that. But, I took a seat and she said to me, you need to chill. Like it ain't working for whatever reason. Time to figure some stuff out. You need to take a break. And I did just that. And I took a break. I took a 3-year break, and I got to know God, and my relationship with God, which is the most important relationship, needed a lot of repair. And I found God. I sought God. And then I read a book called The Secret. Now, I have a niece-in-law that I'm close with, and she had been trying to get me to read the book. And I was like, no, it sounds like witchcraft. It sounds demonic. And in the book, it states several Bible scriptures. But I read it, and I understand who I am as a woman of God, and I understand my relationship with God. And that book helped me out. And then I got a therapist, and I just started doing the work. But in that whole process of everything, my kids weren't done grieving the divorce. I was. They weren't. They needed that time to heal. And I threw myself into my kids. And I didn't start dating again till after I fully healed and I was ready. And I met my husband 6 months later after I was like, I'm ready to start dating again. And I met my husband. So let's get back on topic. And I'm sorry I went off on a tangent, but it irritates me to my soul when people just are like, I'm unhappy, I'm leaving. You're dumb. And I don't care who don't like it. And if this triggers you, oh well, send me a letter. I don't care. And then I'm going to tell you how much dumber I think you are. If you're not getting your ass whooped, if you're not getting cheated on, like this person can't control themselves like they're a 14-year-old boy, that's a different story. If you just left because you just woke up one morning and you're looking at that person like, ugh, why did I marry you? That's on you. And you should know better because you shouldn't have married them in the first place. And shame on you. And you didn't put everybody through that. They got married to this person, made these people like him. And now you don't want to be married no more. Shame on you. Now, infidelity and other issues. Infidelity, alcohol abuse, physical, emotional violence are significant factors in divorce. Women are likely to initiate divorce due to such issues. That is the only reason why people should be getting a divorce. But it's interesting when I looked at these stats and I looked at the number one reason why people file divorce, and I'm going to take you through them. Okay, so here is from divorce.com. So, why women initiate divorce more often than men? Here we go. So, again, 69% of women initiate the divorce, 31% of men do. Now, when we look at the reasoning why it is initiated, here are the top reasons. Women often feel less satisfied in marriages due to unmet emotional needs, poor communication, lack of independence. That was the number one reason. The unequal division of domestic chores, childcare responsibilities, even when both partners work full-time, there's that partner word, contributes to marital dissatisfaction among women. Okay. The third major reason, infidelity and alcohol addiction, which should be number one, but that's not it. Physical, emotional abuse are number 4. So the top third reason, infidelity, and then the fourth reason, physical, emotional abuse. And then the fifth one, despite short-term economic difficulties, women often experience long-term improvements in well-being after divorce. Ain't that something? So the top 2 reasons women file for divorce: feel less satisfied. Top number 2, unequal division of domestic chores. So this is kind of like dealing with your sibling, so to speak. Oh, he didn't wash the dishes. Girl, if you don't get in that kitchen and wash them damn dishes, get a dishwasher. Okay, better yet, if you all can afford it, get a maid. Use paper plates. Oh, he didn't clean the bathroom. If you got little people running around, if you have children, and I'm talking about ages 7 and up, time to teach them to start helping to clean up. They should have been learned. They should be learning from you the moment they're 2 years old and they're throwing everything out the bin. Get those kids and clean up, everybody, everywhere. Clean up. Time for you to do your share. Clean up. Teach your children how to clean up. So if you have 2.5 kids in the house, 3 kids in the house, everybody should be sharing the burden of chores. Everyone should. That's not a reason to leave your husband. Now, if this person is a slob, there are ways to fix that. I'm not going to go there on here, but there are ways to fix it. Pray to God. Figure it out. Get a maid. But that is not a reason to leave your husband. You're masking that because you're unhappy and you just want a reason to leave because you're selfish. It's not that deep. I think we all know going into it, depending on who raised you, if you were raised by people who were married, if people who raised them were married, usually you understand your role as a wife. And if you don't work, I don't want to hear nothing. And I don't care. Send me an email at arianmayweather@gmail.com and tell me how you really feel. And I'm going to tell you how I really feel. Anywho. So those are the reasonings. Happy wife, happy life. And oftentimes the happy wife, happy life, thing goes out the window because people are selfish. And people are selfish. They get married for selfish reasons, not because it's we over me. It's because I want to get married. And it ain't because you want to be a dutiful wife. You want to be married due to honor. It is a selfish reason. And a lot of women will actually take the baby over the marriage. If we want to tie this all in a bow and round it back to, it all goes back to how you started out. When you first started dating and when it was time, and you know what, if we want to in this moment, we can really for real blame your parents. Parents, when you have young children and they're young teens and they start dating, my girls didn't start dating till they were 16. I think Angel was 17 going on 18 when she really for real brought a boy home, and that was hilarious. And her first boyfriend, and understanding that, but leading up to, your kids are watching you and their dad. and how things should be done. But from a small age, you can start planting seeds in them about dating and what that is. Now, we can tell our kids all day long what they should and shouldn't do. They're human. Eventually, they're going to find their own way. But when you start planting seeds in them and who they should be dating and what they should be dating, their reasonings for dating, that should begin early. And everybody has their own ideals. Everybody has their own notions and views on life. And if you have a God-centered home, that should be it. But speaking to your children and letting them know that if they want to become mothers and have a family, they should be seeking marriage. And the type of men they should be seeking should be honorable men, men who are leaders, men who put God first and put their families first, and men who want to be fathers and cultivate a family unit that is strong. And your daughter should know they should be marrying men like their dads. And depending on who their dads are, because you chose them, and I'll hand to God, I am fully accountable to who I chose and procreated with. And I failed miserably. My girls, like I tell them, if you don't get the dad that you want because mom failed in that area, when it's time to pick a husband, you need to be looking at it from this perspective. Okay, I want a husband. I'm going to marry a man that my mom should have married. I want my husband to be the dad I wish I had. I want my husband to be the husband my mom now has. I want this husband to be like my uncle. My girls have several uncles. They can pick and choose qualities they like, qualities that they don't like. But like I told the girls, the whole point of dating is to find someone that is going to help you cultivate a marriage that is successful, honorable, have love, peace, and joy, and to raise children that love their parents and want to do and replicate that. That is marriage's point. And when you date someone, so I'm going to take this back a little bit. When I first had my oldest daughter, Angel, her father and I were not together. Like it ended abruptly. And I have a cousin, and she had kids, and we were young, and her children's father's mom, sweet lady, she passed away. We were all sitting at the dinner table, and I had just had Angel, and she said to me, where's her dad? And I said, oh, we're not together anymore. And she said, okay. She goes, do you want to get back with him? I said, I mean, I did, but I don't think that that's going to happen. And she said, all right. She goes, hear me out and listen to what I'm saying to you. You're a very pretty girl. If you want to get married and you want to find a dad for her, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. She said, but I need you to listen to me. Date. Don't have sex. I'm not going to say it the way she said it, but she was very direct. She said, you need to date. Don't have sex. I said, date. It's a difference. Date to understand and get to know somebody so you can find the best dad for her. Don't just be out here throwing your body around. Now, I heard her and I listened to her. The person I then picked, to me in the moment, I thought that was the best option. And I'll go more deeper in another episode as to why that happened. And I'll correlate that in with finding my husband. But because I don't want to spend too much time on that, because I am married now and I always want to give honor to my husband because I have an amazing husband. But anyways, I dated. Now, I didn't sleep with people. I dated them. Now, fast forward to meeting my husband now. I took that same information and I listened. I didn't sleep with. I dated people. And it was true of, this is Starbucks dates. I can buy my own meal. I'm not here to eat. Plus, I don't eat like that anymore anyways. I had lost a bunch of weight. I want to date. So when I met my husband, we met on Tinder. And everybody has their ideas about online dating. And let's just be honest now, that is just where we're at with society. People don't come up to people. And the beauty about the online dating is maybe you meet somebody you would have never ever met before, because people are busy now. People aren't approaching people. People are less approachable. We saw that after COVID, where you say hi to somebody, especially a Gen Zer, and they look at you like you are an alien. They can't even believe you said hi to them, when it is a normal thing to do, to just be cordial. And passing by, like, oh, hello, how are you? Hi, good morning, good afternoon, that whole thing. But anywho, so I was on Tinder, and it's so funny because I would hear people go, Tinder's for hooking up. It is, listen, it is whatever you make it to be. You can meet somebody at the grocery store and sleep with them within the hour. People are people. It doesn't matter where you meet them at. It is how you treat yourself. So if I get on Tinder just to hook up, that's a me problem. But I didn't do that. I utilized several dating apps. And when I met my husband, when we messaged one another, and I said, I want to hear a voice, he called me immediately, because at that point I was serious. I had wrote a letter to God. I had written a whole things of what I wanted my husband to be. We chatted. I wanted to hear his voice because I didn't want a man with a soft voice, because no, my father didn't have no soft voice. I'm definitely not going to do that. And we talked for a little bit, and then we texted throughout the day. And I said, and he said to me, if you're not doing anything this weekend, I want to take you out to dinner. And I said, honestly, I don't want to do that. If you're available sometime this week, I don't know what you're doing today. Do you want to meet me for coffee? And we met for coffee. Now, we're in a time and era now where the happy wife, happy life, maybe had she met that individual for coffee first, she wouldn't be where she's at now. And people get upset when you offer the coffee thing. And people always want to say, well, I want to get dressed up. Get dolled up, bitch. Like, honestly, for real, go put your makeup on. If you want to meet this man for coffee and you want to get dolled up, present your best foot forward. But if you don't dress up every day and you're not, wearing heels and stuff every day, why would you come to that? Why would you send a representative in that truly isn't a representative of you? Like, let's keep it 100 here. But if you want to look nice and look presentable and be your best self at this coffee date, it's perfectly fine. And you hear people say, I don't drink coffee. Well, if anybody has frequented a Starbucks, you know that they have more than coffee. I think my husband, when we first met, he got like I always get it wrong, a strawberry acai or whatever it is. And note, he did not offer me nothing to drink, not even H2O. And he'll say, well, you were fasting. But in retrospect, when I really think about it, because I offered the coffee date, I should have bought him something. And I'm old school. And I believe whoever invited the one person out, that's who pays for the date. So if I ask you out on a date, I should be paying. Now, do I typically, or would I have typically asked a man out on a date? Hell no. But he had messaged me, and I'm trying to get this train moving, because I don't want to waste time chatting with people for weeks upon weeks and then we meet. No, I have a goal. I'm trying to get married. Are you him? So it was, hey, if you're not busy later, would you like to go to Starbucks? And he was like, yeah, I can make some time. Okay, we go to Starbucks, we meet. Now, if you don't like Starbucks and you're not a coffee person and you don't even want to go to Starbucks to drink tea, the whole purpose of this is to vet. Vetting properly, so you're not sitting in the happy wife, happy life thing, and your husband isn't miserable and your kids aren't miserable and you're about to sink your own battleship. That is the purpose of the coffee date. If you don't like coffee, okay, ice cream. I think it's sweet and enduring. And if a man approaches a woman and he says, hey, if you're not doing anything later, I want to take you to Baskin Robbins, Ben Jerry's, Handles, or Cold Stone, and let's have some ice cream and let's chit chat. Okay, maybe you're lactose intolerant. I don't know. Meet at a park during the day, 2 p.m. on a Saturday. Sit, bring that man a cupcake. Bring him half a sandwich. The whole purpose of this is to get to know someone. And I think we forget how spiritual sharing a meal is with another person. You shouldn't be breaking bread with people you don't know. Because if you're not mature enough to sit through an entire hour and a half date where this person has spent $100+ on you. I'm a cheap date. Listen, I'm Applebee's girl. Take me to Applebee's, okay? And if you're not that girl and you turn your nose up at Cheesecake Factory, you turn your nose up at Applebee's, at a Chili's, you got some work to do on yourself, and you're dating multiple people. What makes you think this guy isn't dating multiple people? And if you're like, I ain't going half on no date and da 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 da, and you expect him to pay for this date, if this man is a young man and he's in his mid-20s and up, and he is vetting a wife, he is spending a lot of money on this date. So, unfortunately, this is where social media has been used for the worst, and people are out here dating for all the wrong reasons, and people are out here with these high expectations. Meanwhile, you are a whole 4 or 5. You ain't an 8 or 9 or 10, and you think you are. And it's great to have self-esteem and confidence, but let's keep it a buck. Who are you, and what do you bring to the table? And what are you expecting? And if you don't take yourself to Ocean Prime and you don't take yourself to Fleming's, don't expect somebody else to do that. If you know on a daily basis you get down with the Red Robin and the Cheesecake Factory and maybe Benihana's or Shogun, and it's a first date, I wouldn't put that on the table. That wouldn't be fair to do. This man is dating multiple women because he himself is trying to find a wife. I'm talking about intentional people. I'm not talking about those who are looking to just sleep with people and keep it moving. So he is also forking out hundreds of dollars weekly to date women, to vet them properly. And I think women, in order to get what you are seeking, which is a loving husband, one where you all can have family goals, build a proper household on strong foundation, one with God at the center, where I'm in this for life. I'm going to be ride or die with this man. This man is going to be ride or die with me. We want to raise intentional, beautiful children. We want to have a life legacy where we have kids, we have grandkids, and we produce a good batch of citizens, happy, healthy adults. That should always be the goal. And where I'm going to add joy, I'm going to add peace to my husband, and he is going to do the same to me. We are not looking to fulfill one another because we came into this fulfilled, happy, and whole. You better be very intentional when you are on these dates. You better be asking meaningful but direct questions. And on a phone call, getting to know someone and having icebreakers just to see if your personalities mesh, that is always the goal. Personally, if it's me, this is what I'm doing. I am meeting the person in whatever capacity. We're going to have an hour phone call, 20, 30, 40-minute phone call. And then after that, maybe the next day, we are going to FaceTime because I want to see your face. And there should be no more catfishing because there's FaceTime, there's WhatsApp, you can call somebody on Instagram, you can call somebody on Facebook. You should be intentional and talk to that person. Are we attracted to one another? I hate when people say, I don't go off looks, I go off mine. Okay, stop the nonsense, because upon meeting someone, if you see somebody, you're not going to be like, oh my God, he has such a great personality. You haven't even spoken to this individual. And anybody can write anything on a profile, but at the same time, what are you attracted to? Attraction is key, because the only time attraction doesn't play a big part is if you are working with people and after a amount of time you and this person have kind of grown on one another. That's the only time, and it's rare, when you hear people say like, we worked together, I wasn't really attracted to him, but he was so funny and I got to know him and now look at us, we're married. Those are one-offs. Because if you're like me, you're as deep as a puddle. Like, I'm shallow at best. I go off of looks. And when I saw my husband, the only reason that deterred me in the beginning was the distance. And then I took a chance on an unknown kid. Shout out to him. He drove down from Barstow, met me at Starbucks, and look at us. But he was fine. I was like, look at this guy. I'm going to marry him. It was lust at first sight. And I love him to this day. And I'm very attracted to him. And you have to be attracted to your husband or wife. You just have to be. Okay, so you meet the person, you FaceTime, all is well. Immediately after that, somebody needs to set up a date. And I get it. If you're one of those people who's like, I want him to ask me out, I get it. And realistically, if there's mutual attraction and he has hot blood running through him, listen, you ain't got to worry about that. He's going to ask you out. But what you should be doing is, because I'm talking to the ladies, if he says, hey, can I take you to dinner? Immediately shift it and say, you know what? Let's meet first for coffee. Because you might get there and you might not like the way he chews. Now you got to spend a whole hour plus with this individual faking it just so you could get this meal that you ordered, and don't get me wrong, I get it, and you don't like him and you find out he's really dumb and you find out, oh, you know what, he doesn't believe in God. Or you find out he's like, me and my mom talk 3 times a day. That's my best friend. That's my homegirl. And you're like, okay, red flag. Not at all. And it's cool to be close with your parents. And it's cool to have an active relationship with your parents. But if you're getting mama boy vibes, no, because what's going to happen is his mom is going to come in and take over. And that's a no-no. Because if I marry you, it's me and you. And I want to love your mom too. But I got my own mom. And your mom should not have a great impact on your life. And mothers, especially with sons, F that. Mothers with kids, when they are of age and they're married and stuff, you got to tread lightly and really rely on what it is you taught them, what lessons were learned, and allow them to fly on their own and not intervene in every chance you can get. It's one thing to help build and to give proper advice to your child in a marriage, but you shouldn't be infiltrating their marriage. So you're talking to this individual, y'all are going back and forth, whatever the case may be, and you find during the date that's already we're 45 minutes in, I don't like you. Now you done wasted this man's time and money when you could have learned that at Starbucks, at Cold Stone, at Ben and Jerry's, or whatever little case you have, or even the Coffee Bean, 30 minutes in, like, I ain't never seeing homeboy again. Like, soon as this is up, I'm blocking him and we're never speaking again. And that's okay, because guess what? He only spent $10, so nobody's feelings are going to be hurt, none of that stuff. But if you yield into those things and you're intentional with dating, and you're intentional about your future and what it is you want. And if you want a dutiful marriage and you want a marriage where equally both partners come in complete, fulfilled, and whole, and then we can just thrive off of that, then you have to be very aware and very accountable of who you are, how you put yourself, how you put yourself out there, and what it is you intend to do. And yes, lives, and people are people. And we all fall short of the glory of God. But at the same time, we want to avoid happy wife, happy life. What we want is happy spouse, happy house. That's what we want. That is the true key to this. And again, I appreciate y'all for listening. And, honest to goodness, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please feel free to leave them. Again, you can email me. But this is based off of what I see in society, and I am a family-oriented person. I am a relationship-oriented person. I am wonderfully and fearfully made in God. And everything I say has God in it. So you have to take full accountability in who you are. You have to understand why you are where you're at and what role did you play in it, because marriages just don't fall apart. At some point in time, you had a hand in the fall apart, And if you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing with you and your purpose and why God put you here, and your husband isn't, you need to pray. And even in that, if you can't come to a meeting of the minds and you've done everything, I totally get it. But this shouldn't be a happy wife, happy life. You didn't marry yourself. And if that's the case, stay alone and don't ruin nobody's life, your husband's or your children's. So with that being said, I'm going to bid you all adieu. And again, thank you for tuning in. And we will have a new episode next week. And I appreciate you all and love you all. Have a blessed day.